What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we are jumping in with some Destiny 2 news and updates. It's been a turbulent couple of weeks for Bungie, hasn't it? That may indeed come up here and there, but we have other updates from Bungie today, coming from the weekly blog post. On top of that, extra clarification for Rite of the Nine, a bit of a roadmap for the next few weeks, and info about Destiny Rising's beta, which may be useful for some folks, so we're going to round up a few things today. As always, if you enjoyed the video, a rating below really does help us out, but otherwise, let's get into it. As we reported on earlier today, there's been a lot of new info coming from ex-Bungie employees and insiders at the studio about the issues around Marathon, toxicity, leadership concerns, and even things like Destiny 2 having a subscription model suggested in the past, which was actually shut down by developers on the floor. All of the stuff that's been going on is pretty wild. If you want a recap of all of that, I'll link a video down below. Moving away from that to some hopefully more positive things, I guess. Bungie did say clarification on the Rite of the Nine rewards. Players must earn Adept versions of the Rite of the Nine gear before they can drop from the Nonary Manifold chest next to the Emissary. They're clarifying that because lots of players have spent a good chunk of currency trying to get Adept weapons now that Ghost of the Deep has dropped. Some of the confusion comes from the fact that on week 1, we were indeed able to get Adept weapons and even holofoil Adepts from that chest when opening up for the first time, so I guess players just thought it would still work the same way, but apparently not. So if you want to farm with the currency, basically you need to get the Adept drops that you want first. Then you can farm for them via the chest as well. Give us your thoughts on that. Otherwise, Bungie have updated the calendar for the dungeon rollout. So Ghost of the Deep is from May 20th to June 3rd. Prophecy will drop on June 3rd to June 17th. Then from the 17th of June, all of the dungeons will be available, and there'll be some reward boosts in there as well. Then on the final week before Edge of Fate, all reward boosts will be active for all of the dungeons, so keep those in mind. Otherwise, Destiny Rising has a closed beta launching on May 29th. I'll link an article down below that has sign-up details for that if you're interested. Access is not guaranteed, as far as I understand it, but they did post yet another trailer. You can see some of the footage for it in the background right here, showing off some new areas of the game. I've got to say, I'm not massively into any kind of mobile game, but purely in terms of seeing new Destiny locations and abilities produced by NetEase right here. At least visually, I think this stuff looks pretty cool, but give us your thoughts down below.
Get out of the way.
Meet, let's do this together!
Otherwise, right here, before we get into the TWID, which isn't absolutely jam-packed with action, I have to be honest, Bungie did update the logo for the Renegades expansion, as shared by Destiny Bulletin right here. So the one on the left was the one that they announced alongside Edge of Fate and the Year of Prophecy. The new one on the right-hand side definitely has much more Star Wars-y vibes, I would say, right there. Bungie have kind of tried to ease nerves in saying that this is not a Star Wars expansion as such, but is more inspired by Star Wars. This is going to be an interesting one, man. Adding an even more Star Wars-y logo probably doesn't calm those concerns anymore, necessarily. But interestingly, this does highlight the new campaign and a new game mode called Lawless Frontier, as well as Dungeon and Epic Dungeon access, which has players curious as to what Epic Dungeon actually means. Right now, of course, we have normal and hard modes. We have the contest when a dungeon initially launches, but Epic Dungeon is certainly new terminology. I don't know whether they're just renaming the difficulties, but obviously there is a differentiation between normal dungeon and epic dungeon, so I'd be curious to get your thoughts on what that might be. It might relate to Bungie updating the dungeon and raids a few months after they initially drop. Bungie did indicate, it was actually before the Edge of Fate reveal, that the plan was to release the raid activity and then give it some kind of update during one of the major updates to the game, adding encounters and rewards and things. So perhaps that's something they're going to do with the dungeon as well, and that could be what epic dungeon means. We'll just have to wait and see. But again, give us your thoughts in the comment section. Next up though, we get onto the TWID itself. Following on from the updates they gave on social media, they reiterate Ghost of the Deep is featured in Rite of the Nine, so after 2 weeks of Spire, now's the time for Ghost of the Deep to shine. This dungeon will test your team with new mechanics and challenges, so maybe don't jump directly into Ultimatum, so that you can get a proper understanding of everything. Explore is the more approachable game mode, while Eternity gets you more rewards, and it's the minimum for certain triumphs and quests. Otherwise, they reiterate that calendar that we just mentioned. Keep in mind, the first week that a dungeon is featured will be followed by another, where 2 new quests will be available, along with increased rewards and weapon drops from enemies defeated within the activity, so that will apply to Ghosts of the Deep next week at reset. Otherwise, once again, from June 24th to July 8th, all dungeons will be available, and 1 will have increased currency rewards. So June 17th will get Spire with increased rewards, June 24th will be Ghosts of the Deep, and July 1st will be Prophecy. Then from July 8th, there will be increased rewards and weapon drops from enemies in all dungeons. All of the dungeons will be featured at the same time, and they'll turn on a new way to spend your nunnery manifold currency. Not sure what that will look like, but there we go, those are the updates regarding Rite of the Nine. Otherwise, like I said, this is certainly not the fattest TWID in the world in terms of new information. They do speak about speedrunning, so they say last week we saw a fire team set a great speedrun part-time for Ultimatum Spire of the Watcher, as well as a Guardian completing the activity solo flawless, which is pretty bonkers. And they add, we thought it would be cool to issue a small challenge. In the same way they feature movies, artists, and fashion in the TWID, how about we shine the spotlight on the speedrunning community? So moving forward, they say we've had many questions about what's allowed and what's not, how emblems might be rewarded for this and when, and they want to come up with a very clear Bungie speedrun challenge format with set rules for everyone to follow that's fair and fun, and they've started brainstorming on future opportunities after Edge of Fate launches, so looks like we'll probably see something like this in the future. Otherwise, in terms of the Nightfall weapon this week, which is the Slammer, they do point out that this is the last opportunity to earn it. So it's that time of year where weapons who've been around the longest step away and leave the room for those that are yet to come. This week is the last one in the rotation for the Slammer, the Stasis legendary sword earned in Nightfalls. They point out it's known for having eager edge and cool steel. Fun little typo there. If you don't have an Adept though already, they say the time is almost up, as this week is the final time that it will be featured before Edge of Fate when it's actually going out of the rotation. Typically, when they announce weapons leaving the rotation, they'll give an indication of other ones that'll be added, but we don't get that just yet. It's the same with other Edge of Fate reveals this week. Bungie don't have anything new to talk about on that front at the moment. They did indicate that through June, they'll start to kick up that conversation a bit more, so looks like we're gonna have to wait a little while longer before we start to get any more real details, but otherwise they highlight in relation to the Eververse store, Festival of the Lost 2024 was the year of the Wizard, and the community came together to vote for Wizard-themed armor sets, and they're called by most of the community the Good Wizards or Evil Wizards, and the results of that vote were clear: evil warlocks and hunters, but good titans. Now though, they've added the alternate versions of those armor sets, which are currently available in the Eververse store, so they're available for silver and bright dust. I think it's 6,000 bright dust or 1,000 silver, and Bungie point out they promised they would make them available, so you can currently find them in the Eververse store if you want to. Otherwise, the only real component remaining for TWID is a known issues list, so they highlight crystals made by the Rhymecoat Raiment exotic chest don't reliably grant Devour, while Feed the Void is equipped. Enhanced recycled energy grants no energy back, and that the champ title has lost its gilded status. Otherwise, many of those known issues, like steps 9 and 6 of Drowning Labyrinth not working, issues with Derealize, and the Tome of Want quest freaking out, are still ongoing issues in the game, so that really sums it up. In a way, I kind of wonder if Bungie are having a bit of a quieter week, given the amount of drama that's occurred recently. Of course, there's been reporting across the Marathon and Destiny front, as we touched on at the start of the video, so I don't know if Bungie are going to come out and acknowledge any of that stuff publicly once again. I imagine they probably maybe will at some point. Maybe they're holding off until they've done that before kicking into the Edge of Fate conversation in hopes that the negativity won't kind of follow along in its path. So that's all we can say for now. Otherwise, Bungie did once again indicate that more Edge of Fate reveals will be coming in June, so I will keep you posted. Otherwise, it's a tradition to cover the TWID, so I figured we'd do it here nonetheless with a couple of extra updates. I hope you found the video interesting in some capacity. If you have, a rating below really does help us out. Otherwise though, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.